vis-a-vis the Gita, where do we stand? We are all in the same place as Arjuna standing in chapter 1. The chapter 1 of the Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The yoga of Arjuna's confusion, sorrow, displeasure, Arjuna's sorrow, Arjuna's indecision, Arjuna's confusion, Vishada. All this together are embodied in that word. Now it's not only Arjuna who stands there. We all stand on that same. And the teaching of the Gita from that time onwards is to take one out of that sorrow and confusion. Now that means that unless and until sorrow strikes, we don't look at anything else. If you given a lollipop, nice, but sometime it finishes, you have to throw it. So there is something else beyond the lollipop. Now, in this matter, two words are used to describe a human being's life and how he should handle himself if he has to live tranquilly in this world and also touch the divine. Both. And they are Shreyas and Preyas. Which means that which is good and that which is pleasant. That which is pleasant may not be always good, and that which is good may not always be pleasant. But in the long run, it is good. Which means to lead an ideal life for a householder while practicing spirituality or moving on the journey of the truth, to walk on this journey, is to be aware that pleasurable things may not always be good. Good means not good for one's spiritual evolution. And that which is good for one's evolution may not always be pleasant. They are not the same. I am not saying that some pleasant things are not good. They are, but generally it is not the case. And also, all good things need not be unpleasant. There are also pleasant good things. But in general, that is the ratio. Therefore, Krishna asks Arjuna to choose the good against choosing only the pleasant. Now, we all know this in our lives. If we choose only the pleasant, which our desires always push us to, then we generally abandon the good. Why? Because sometimes in choosing good, we may have to not experience the present. So all the qualities that a human character needs, including sticking to the truth, being kind to others, seeing divinity in all, is good. That which is pleasant is that it may be pleasant to you, but it may not be pleasant to the other. It may be painful to the other. It may also be painful to yourself. Example, concrete example. We all know that many of us have a sweet tooth. Sweets are very pleasant, but are they good? Just take this example and look at life, other things in life. You know what happens when you eat too much sweet. I'm not talking about diabetics, I'm talking normal people. But will you choose still to eat, keep on eating sweet? I'm not saying you shouldn't eat one rasgulla as good. But you understand what I mean? Sometimes it is pleasant in the evening. It's cold. It's cold in winter. But then if you only do that, where will you end up? If the kidney goes, and then the other things go, and one by one. So So therefore we have to choose to live a spiritual life in this world. So, the journey begins with understanding that leading a spiritual life does not mean that you should not enjoy life. Means some moderation has to be brought in the way one lives. You can be with nothing and still be very possessive. On the other hand, there was a great king Janaka who had everything but was not attached to anything. It is a story that the great king Yagnavalkya, the great rishi, who was also the guru of Janaka, used to hold his satsangs in the forest. And there was always a seat reserved in front for Janaka. So the rishis used to whisper among themselves, saying, I think because he is the king, he is given a special place to sit, special. And Yagnavalkya didn't say a word, continued. One day, there was a fire in the forest. All the rishis who had only a cowpea and a kamandal got agitated and started running up and down, saying that this is burning. Now the king, who has his palaces and everything there, did not move an inch. He sat on the asana and he said, shall we continue, sir? What was that you were saying? And Yagnavalkya said, this is the difference between you and Janaka. Another example. Sukadeva is asked to go and meet Janaka, the great rishi. Now please, we are all not Janakas and this. Sukadeva was asked to go and meet Janaka and take some spiritual advice. And when Sukadeva went to Janaka, he was wondering, why is the great Vedavyasa sending me to this king who lives in luxury? Sukadeva is supposed to be a born Paramahamsa. At a young age itself, he said, I want to be free. He did not even allow anybody to put the thread because that is a bondage. So he went there and he asked him, how does my father think you are spiritual when you are living in this luxurious palace? How can you fix your attention on the spirit? So Janaka said, we will discuss that later, but I will give you something. He gave him a small cup and filled it with oil. He said, put this on your head, hold it. Now you go around the city of Videha, see all the sights and come back and report to me all that has happened. First step. But there is one condition. You cannot spill a drop of oil from this cup. Now Sukadeva, very keen to get knowledge, went round the city, but he knew that if I spill one drop, then I will not get what I want from this great man. So he came back. He described in detail all about the city. So Janaka said, did you spill any oil? He said, no sir, I didn't. How did you do that? He said, I was seeing everything in detail, but the core of my heart was on that cup, so I didn't spill it. So Janaka said, the core of my heart is on the Supreme Brahman, but I do everything outside. Because I have touched that, touching which man becomes free. And in that freedom I operate. So my operations are not for myself, it is for my kingdom. Now this way, I believe that one can live. I don't think it is confined to Janaka or confined to Arjuna, or that we see Krishna spoke in the Gita, the Mahabharata is many thousand years ago, or many hundreds of years ago. But the teaching still survives with us. The 18 chapters of the Gita, one by one, step by step, there are ways and means for all kinds of people to approach the truth. Not confined to one person, which is why every chapter of the Gita has a different name and it's called a yoga. First, of course, is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Then you have Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Then you have Karma Yoga, the yoga of work. Then you have Jnana Yoga, then you have Sannyasin Yoga, then you have Bhakti Yoga. So each chapter is an approach to the truth and it is meant for all of us. It's not meant only for those, because Krishna's definition of sannyas itself is non-attachment to the fruit, not working. Because not working is a great disease. It's called the disease of laziness. Swami Vivekananda, when he started the Ramakrishna mission, he said, you people cannot meditate 24 hours a day, even though you are monks. So what do you do the rest of the time? Unless you do some selfless activity, which will also purify your psyche, you will be lost in unnecessary thoughts and unnecessary desires will spring up. So the lazy mind, is a devil's workshop. So, do social work. Keep fully occupied with work, but it need not be for yourself. The work can be for others. With that, gradually the mind is purified. Then, use the rest of your time to meditate and find the truth. When he was asked to say what is the essence of the Gita, this is what every one of us, you and me, have to discover in ourselves. He said the essence of the Gita is, every soul is potentially divine. Every soul is potentially divine. To manifest that divinity, either through work, or through meditation, or through devotion, or through service, or through the practice of yoga, to manifest it, that is the essence of the Gita. The rest are all subsidiary. So that is the message that I want to give you today. And please believe me, I am also like you. I might have had some experience, but I am also like you. You can ask the people with whom I stay. I eat normal food. I walk, I joke. In fact, if you have touched the inner core of joy, you cannot be very sorrowful anyway. In fact, if you don't have joy, what about others who come to you with sorrows? You are also sorry that you don't share. Swami Vivekananda again used to say that if you see a person with a sad, long face, don't mistake him, don't think that he's a religious man or probably he suffers from dyspepsia, indigestion. Because when you touch the core of all joy, which is the essence of joy, which human beings search for everywhere but can't find, you'll find it when you turn inward and look. How can you be sad? You can be sad for those who have not touched that joy. Right? So therefore, I am saying that like me, if I can progress, you can progress. No question about this. Don't get discouraged by people who say that only a special category of people can become spiritual. No? And there is no external paraphernalia by which you can distinguish somebody spiritual. A man may be wearing a suit. It doesn't mean he is not spiritual. You don't have to have a cowpea to be spiritual. A man may be, I have seen cowpea-dharis work cheats. What do you do? Now before I end, I want to tell you a story about how external appearances become more important for people than internal development. And how those who are not in the depths of spiritual understanding very often demonstrate it through outward mannerisms and pretensions. There was a man who was an executive in a bank. He lived in England, close to the Hyde Park from his flat. He was actually a very senior and advanced disciple of a Sufi teacher. You know the Sufis. So nowadays it's become a fashion. There are Sufi songs, there are everything. That also has become very commercial, yeah. Anyway. So this man was a disciple of a real Sufi. And one day he looked out of his window and saw a man standing in Hyde Park. Now, if you have a soapbox, you can stand in Hyde Park and preach. Few people will definitely gather. It's allowed. So he saw a man wearing a long robe, green robe, big green turban, beard, flowing beard, rosaries on his neck, and a book in his hand, standing and talking, holding forth. And soon some people gathered around. The first day he watched, second day he watched, it is not my business. Third day, he went to him and asked him, "Brother, who are you? What exactly are you doing?" And this man said, "I am a Sufi." He said, "Okay." Then he said, "But I am also a Sufi. I am wearing a jacket and pants and shoes and I am going to work." He said, "Oh, is that so?" Then he said, "Well, have you read this Sufi book, this text?" He said, "Which Sufi text?" He said, "There is one important textbook for the Sufis. It's called Kasbul Majid." It means revelation of the veil. It means seeing the truth without veils. Revelation of veils. So, that, have you read that book by Ali Hujuri? He said, "Yes, I have." So he said, "What about the descriptions of a Sufi in that book?" He has to have a white patched robe, he has to, he said, "Rosary." But yeah, that is true. But my dear friend, that was written 800 years ago. And this man said, "But I read it only last week." So, when depth is not there, and when it is not understood that you and I, living in the situations in which we live, can also be spiritual. This is the hope that I want to spread to everybody. Don't think that you cannot be spiritual, because it is nothing like that. Because our natural desire to be free, to have happiness, this is what is reflected in your spiritual life. That is the spiritual journey. So while you are, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, if you could only change your habits a little bit and build your character, that is required, of course. You should be ready to change it. Then you don't have to give up things that you have. You can use it for betterment of humanity and yet walk on the spiritual path and be free. This is the message that I want to give you today. So it's 1 hour, normal time usually for a spiritual discussion. After that, the spirit takes over. So what we do is, tomorrow, please come, because now I will go into practical ways of walking on the spiritual journey, simple methods which you can use in your day-to-day life and walk on your journey to the truth. Please don't think that it is only meant for some people. It is very difficult. It is not difficult. I am saying that if I can do it, you can do it. Thank you very much. Please come tomorrow. I am very happy. I desire to share with you how to walk. Today is what, tomorrow is how.